Hello, welcome to the channel. Subscribe, leave a like, and don't forget to write a comment. Enjoy watching.
I didn't cry when I saw the front end of my brand new cherry red Mazda crushed like a soda can in the driveway. I didn't scream, didn't throw a fit, didn't even flinch when I saw my brother Tyler standing next to it, hands in his hoodie pockets, chewing gum like it was any other Tuesday. It was barely 2 weeks old. 2 weeks. The smell of factory fresh vinyl still lingered in the seats, and the dealership plates were still on. I had spent 8 damn years scrimping every extra dollar from side gigs, working overtime, canceling vacations, driving beat-up rust buckets that barely passed inspection, just to get that car. It was more than a vehicle to me. It was a mile marker. It was proof that after all the sacrifices, all the favors, all the years of being the family fallback plan, I had finally done something just for me. And then Tyler totaled it in less than 12 hours. The kicker? He didn't even ask to take it. I woke up that morning to an empty driveway and a text message that said, "Needed wheels, borrowing yours." Chill. That was at 8 o'clock. By 10:30, I got a call from a neighbor saying there was a situation out front. I thought maybe someone hit it while backing out. I thought maybe a tree limb fell. I never imagined I'd walk out and see Tyler standing there, cool as a cucumber, with the hood crumpled and steam still hissing from the engine like a dying animal. He didn't even look guilty. He looked annoyed that I showed up. I asked what the hell happened, and he shrugged, said some slick patch caught him turning into the driveway. Said he might have been going a little fast. Then he gave me that smirk, and said, "Well, guess you'll have to deal with it." Like he'd just knocked over my coffee, not destroyed the thing I'd worked almost a decade for. My fists clenched so hard I felt my nails digging into my palms, but I didn't yell. I didn't explode. I just stared at him, and when I turned, I saw my mother walking out onto the porch in her robe, coffee cup in hand, completely unfazed. She looked at the car, then at me, and sighed like I was the inconvenience. "Don't make a scene, honey," she said. "It's just a car. Just a car." Like it hadn't taken me 8 years and 1,000 tiny humiliations to afford it. Like Tyler hadn't waltzed into my life, taken what wasn't his, and burned it to the ground without so much as a sorry. And somehow, I was the one on trial for overreacting. I didn't make a scene. Not then. I didn't scream at Tyler, didn't throw my keys at the wall, didn't call the police or the insurance or the neighbors. I just nodded, walked right past them both, went back into the house, upstairs to my room, shut the door quietly behind me. Then I opened my desk drawer. There, beneath a pile of utility bills and expired coupons, was a manila folder I hadn't touched in months. Inside it were receipts, paperwork, registration documents, and a few things neither Tyler nor my mother knew about. Things I'd kept, just in case. Not because I was paranoid. Because I knew them. Knew that in this family, the ones who played fair always got screwed. Knew that forgiveness was expected from me like a reflex, while apologies were rare commodities. I'd been here before. Just never with something this big. And that folder? It wasn't just paper. It was power. It's funny how in some families, silence is treated like strength. How if you bite your tongue long enough, people mistake it for peacekeeping instead of pressure building. But I wasn't at peace. I was planning. Because Tyler didn't just wreck my car. He wrecked my patience. He wrecked whatever scraps of respect I still held for our family's broken balance. And my mom? She handed him the matches and told me not to notice the fire. That night, I heard them downstairs, laughing like nothing happened. Mom was cooking dinner. Tyler had cracked open a beer. They'd moved on. My car was already a memory to them, a minor blip in another story where I'd end up doing what I always did, swallow the hurt, patch the mess, pay the bill, and pretend like it didn't matter. But not this time. This time, I pulled out that folder and I spread the papers across my bed like a war map. Registration in my name, but purchased under my business. Insurance policy clauses I'd actually read for once. A dashcam I'd forgotten I'd installed. hidden just behind the rearview mirror. My hands moved calmly, methodically. I wasn't crying. I wasn't shaking. I was focused. Because Tyler thought I was just a doormat. But he forgot I kept receipts. You know what gets under your skin more than anything? Not the loud betrayals, not the screaming arguments or slammed doors, but the quiet rewrites of history, the way people twist memories to suit themselves, to paint themselves as innocent while you're made the villain for simply remembering things the way they actually happened. That's what it's like growing up with a golden child in the house. A sibling who could burn the kitchen down and somehow you'd end up grounded for it. A brother who could ruin everything in his path and still walk away with a pat on the back and a damn trophy for trying his best. Tyler was born 2 years after me and somehow managed to be the gravitational center of the entire house from the moment he showed up. He wasn't even particularly charming or talented, just loud, relentless, and really, really good at being everyone's problem, but never his own. He'd lie straight to your face with that dopey grin and those soft brown eyes that made people want to believe him, especially Mom, who defended him like her life depended on it. I covered for him more times than I can count, and I don't say that with pride, I say it with resentment that's been building since I was 12. Like the time he broke into Dad's liquor cabinet and got completely plastered the night before a family reunion. I was the one who found him passed out in the backyard, vomit on his hoodie, stinking of cheap whiskey. I dragged him into the basement, cleaned him up, and lied to Mom about the smell, said he must have eaten bad shrimp. She laughed. "That boy can't even handle soda, let alone shrimp," she said. Then she made pancakes for him the next morning and told me I looked tired. I wanted to scream. In high school, he cheated on his girlfriend 3 times with 3 different girls. I knew because one of them was my friend, and she came crying to me when she realized he was stringing her along. I told her not to say anything, convinced her it wasn't worth the drama. I even comforted her after he ghosted her, all while Tyler bragged about keeping his options open like he was some kind of prize. And when it all finally came out and the girlfriend showed up at our front door crying, Tyler had the audacity to tell Mom I was spreading lies because I was jealous of his relationships. She believed him. Of course she did. Told me I was being petty and needed to learn how to be happy for my brother's success with girls. Success? He was a walking red flag wrapped in cologne. Then there was the time he stole from Dad's wallet $20 at first, then 50, then over 100. I caught him red-handed when I was 17. He begged me not to say anything. Told me he needed the money to buy a part for his bike. I told Dad anyway, thinking finally someone would see through his nonsense. Dad was furious until Tyler started crying. Real tears. Said he just wanted to fix his bike so he could get a job and help out more. Dad backed down. Mom hugged him. And I got the silent treatment for 2 days for embarrassing him. After Dad passed, everything got worse. Tyler didn't just act like he was owed the world. He acted like I was the one taking up space in his. Mom leaned on me for everything. Bills, groceries, managing the house. Tyler said he was too mentally drained to help, which apparently meant he got to sleep until noon while I picked up shifts on weekends and skipped lunch to stretch the food budget. I bought my first car at 27 years old. A used Corolla with a busted stereo and a back bumper that hung on by sheer will. I was proud of it, even if it wasn't much. But 2 years later, I sold it to help Mom cover rent when she lost her job after Dad died. Tyler? He said he was looking for the right opportunity and played Xbox for 5 straight months while I took a second job cleaning offices at night. No one clapped for me. No one called me brave or selfless or even said thank you. But when Tyler once drove Mom to a doctor's appointment because I was working, she cried about how good a son he was. Said, "See? He's really stepping up lately." I remember wanting to laugh. Or break something. Or both. And yeah, maybe I was used to being the one who held everything together, the one who said nothing while everyone else made noise, but even I have limits. When Tyler crashed my car, I could hear all of it echoing in my head, the years of swallowing it, of saying, "It's fine," when it never really was. I could hear every moment they called him special and called me dramatic. Every time Mom made me the bad guy for asking for basic accountability. It took me almost 10 years to save up $1,000. $1,000. Just to clarify, that's like, what, 1,000? Yeah, that sounds wrong, right? But that's what I said. 1,000. Go ahead, tell me how dumb that sounds in the comments. I deserve it. But what I don't deserve is being treated like a disposable safety net for a guy who wouldn't know responsibility if it sat on his chest and screamed. So I kept quiet when he wrecked my car. But I also started making calls, because it was time someone started flipping the house of cards he'd built. And when it all came crashing down, I wanted to make sure he knew exactly who pulled the bottom piece. The funny thing about paperwork is how boring it seems, until one single sheet has the power to split a life in half. I sat on the edge of my bed with the manila folder in my lap like it was a bomb I'd built with my own hands, and in some ways, maybe I had. Because inside that folder wasn't just proof of ownership, insurance, or receipts, it was leverage. It was a loaded weapon, legal and silent, and the more I sifted through those documents, the more I realized I had everything I needed to bring Tyler's house of lies crashing down on his smug little head. Let me explain something real quick. I don't just work one job. I've been a freelance digital consultant for years, which is a fancy way of saying I help small companies not completely screw up their online presence. Websites, social media audits, branding, I do it all. I got tired of waiting for raises that never came and bosses who expected me to act like their secretary, so I made my own business. A little LLC registered under the name North Star Creative. Sounds professional, right? I even have the cheap logo to prove it. Anyway, that LLC isn't just for taxes and invoices. It's also where I route certain expenses that qualify for business write-offs. And that car? The one Tyler mangled like a tin can in a demolition derby? I didn't just buy it as a personal vehicle. I registered it under the business because I used it for client meetings, driving to on-site gigs, deliveries, and equipment runs. So even though it was my car, it was technically owned by the LLC. That means two very important things. One, it wasn't just my loss, it was a business loss. And two, I had records. Clean, legal, black and white records that proved ownership, usage, depreciation, and every dollar tied to it. The insurance company had already come back with their report. Totaled. No ambiguity. The front frame was twisted, radiator shattered, and the axle snapped clean in half. The adjuster said, "It's lucky no one was in the passenger seat, because with that impact force, we'd be talking spinal injuries." Tyler didn't even flinch when I told him. He just asked if I'd gotten the payout yet, as if that meant we were square. I told him no, and I wasn't in a hurry. What I didn't tell him was that I had submitted the claim carefully, with an attached copy of the business registration and the usage documentation. The claim wasn't going through personal insurance. It was going through the commercial policy I kept as a backup for North Star Creative. A little clause I'd paid extra for, just in case. And Tyler had just wandered into the worst case. But that wasn't the crown jewel. That wasn't the match that would light the fuse. That would be the dashcam. I had installed it the month I got the car, nothing fancy, just a small, unobtrusive unit tucked behind the mirror. It auto-synced to the cloud, loop-recorded every trip, and captured audio from inside the vehicle. I originally got it for safety, to protect myself if anyone rear-ended me or pulled something shady on the road. What I didn't expect was to hear my brother's voice crystal clear, half laughing and half slurring, not 5 minutes before the crash. "Dude, I shouldn't even be driving. Screw it. She'll deal with it. She always does." Then a pause. Some music. A burp. Like she's ever said no to Mom. The laugh that followed? It was so careless, so soaked in cheap liquor and years of entitlement, that it made my stomach twist. You know when a moment snaps something inside you, like a twig cracking in a quiet forest? That was it. Not the crash. Not the smirk. That laugh. That little mocking wheeze of amusement that told me exactly how little he respected me, or the years I spent fixing his messes, or the fact that he could have killed someone and still would have slept like a baby. I downloaded the video. I saved 3 copies. I transcribed the audio. I emailed one to myself, one to a backup drive, and one to an attorney friend I knew from a previous client. Not to sue. Not yet. Just to ask a question. A small one. Hey, under California law, is this a DUI? The answer came back the next morning. Yes, absolutely. No room for doubt. Because in California, you don't need to cause a wreck, or get pulled over, or even have another driver involved. If you operate a vehicle while legally intoxicated and cause property damage, that's a DUI. Even if no one's hurt. Even if the other car is a tree. Even if the other person is your own damn sister. So yeah, that single document, that simple dashcam file, less than 5 minutes long, wasn't just proof of a bad judgment call. It was a felony waiting to happen. Tyler had broken more than my bumper. He'd broken the law, and I had every frame of it saved. He thought I'd move on. He thought insurance would cut a check, I'd replace the car, and we'd all pretend it never happened. But what he didn't realize, what Mom still didn't understand, was that something had shifted this time. I wasn't the cleanup crew anymore. I wasn't the safe landing or the silent fixer or the self-sacrificing older sister who quietly bore the burden so the men in the house could keep stumbling forward. This time, I wasn't just angry. I was armed. And under California law, that's a DUI. Even if no one was hurt. Even if it's family. Family dinners at Mom's house always had this weird, plastic shine to them, like those fake fruit bowls people used to put out in the 90s, colorful, perfectly placed, but cold and empty if you ever bit into them. This one was no different. She laid out her usual spread like we were the goddamn Cleavers, roast chicken, green bean casserole, some boxed wine pretending to be elegant. Tyler was already half a glass in by the time I walked in, lounging in Dad's old seat like he'd earned it. Nobody said a word about the car. Not even a hint of it. Like maybe if they acted normal enough, I'd forget what he did and get back to being the version of me they preferred, the version who cleaned up after disasters and swallowed every slight with a smile. But I was already tired of playing dumb. I sat down at the end of the table, further away from the warm glow of Mom's favorite scented candles, and placed my bag on the chair beside me, careful not to take my eyes off Tyler's smirking face for too long. He was wearing one of his old college hoodies even though it was nearly 80 degrees outside, probably hiding the beer gut he swore he didn't have. He raised his glass at me like we were old drinking buddies and said, "You still mad about your little car, sis?" That's what he called it. My little car. As if it hadn't been the one and only thing I'd bought in a decade that was completely for me. Not for Mom. Not to haul groceries. Not for side jobs. Not to get someone else out of a jam. Just mine. And he called it little, like I should have outgrown caring about it. Mom chuckled from across the table like it was some harmless jab. "Don't start," she said to him, not even looking at me. "We're having a nice dinner." I took a slow sip of water, because if I'd opened my mouth right then, it wouldn't have been words that came out. It would have been the sound of 10 years of rage escaping all at once. "You're right," I said. "Let's make it a nice dinner." And that's when I reached into my bag and pulled out the manila folder. The one I hadn't let go of since the crash. The one that had traveled with me to work, to the grocery store, even to the damn post office, just in case. I laid it flat on the table, right between the chicken and the cranberry sauce, and opened it slowly like I was revealing sacred text. Mom blinked. "What's that?" "Some receipts," I said. "Just a few things I thought we could go over, since we're all here. Since we're having a nice dinner." Tyler's smirk faltered, just a flicker, but I saw it. I started with the photos. High-quality printouts of the damage. Front end smashed, airbags deployed, fluids leaking. I didn't say a word. Just passed them around like family vacation snapshots. Then the police report. I didn't have to file it, but I did, just in case. I wanted it documented. Passed that around too. Still didn't speak. But then I pulled out the transcript of the real bomb. The one with the words that would finally blow the mask off his face. I figured, I said, folding the page in half, since we're all being honest and adult and civil, I'd let everyone hear what Tyler had to say while he was driving my car, drunk, without my permission. His head jerked up at the word drunk. You're making a scene, Mom said quickly, reaching out like she could physically stop me with one hand. This isn't the time. No, I asked. Because you said that last time too. Then I read it. I read it loud and clear. I shouldn't be driving, but screw her. She's always been a stuck-up bitch. The room froze like someone had cut the power. The only sound was the faint ticking of the wall clock, measuring the seconds between the old version of me and whoever I'd just become. Mom's face had gone completely pale, like she couldn't decide whether to cry or scold me. Tyler looked like someone had punched him square in the gut. And honestly, that was satisfying. That was worth the years I'd spent being quiet, biting my tongue so hard it practically bled, waiting for someone, anyone, to treat me like I mattered more than a doormat. He turned white. But I wasn't finished yet. You ever have a moment where the silence after your words hits harder than anything anyone else could have possibly said? That's what it felt like after I read that transcript out loud at the dinner table. It was like time stopped, like my family had been yanked out of whatever fantasy they'd been living in where Tyler was just a lovable screw-up, and I was the overly dramatic older sister who needed to learn how to let things go. But that sentence, she's always been a stuck-up bitch, ripped through the air like a blade, and there was no stuffing that truth back into a drawer. Tyler's smirk was long gone by then. His face was tight, jaw clenched, trying to process the reality that I had proof, not just of what he did, but who he really was. He tried to play it off at first, tried to act like it was a joke, just guys messing around, said it was taken out of context, like there was any good context for drunk driving a car you didn't own while calling your sister names. Mom, of course, went into full damage control mode, telling me I was overreacting, that he didn't mean it, and that I was being cruel for airing family problems at dinner like some reality show villain. She tried to guilt-trip me with that classic line, "We're family, we don't take each other to court." But by that point, it was too late. Not because I was angry, although I was, beyond words, but because I was done. Done being their quiet scapegoat. Done being the only adult in a house full of children who refused to grow up. So I did something I'd never done before. I filed a lawsuit. Not a big one, not some splashy courtroom drama, just a simple small claims filing in the county courthouse. I didn't sue him for the cost of the car. Insurance had covered most of that anyway. I sued him for something he never expected anyone to hold him accountable for: intentional malice. It's a real thing, if you know how to build the case right. And I did. I sued him for emotional damages and business disruption because when he crashed my car, he didn't just wreck a vehicle, he disrupted my freelance business that depended on that transportation. I missed meetings, lost 2 clients, and had to cancel a workshop I was scheduled to lead. And don't even get me started on the therapy bills I finally started collecting after that night. Apparently, 10 years of swallowing resentment takes a toll on the mind. The clerk at the court raised an eyebrow when she saw the stack of documents I brought in. Email chains, appointment cancellations, financial statements, a letter from my therapist, a detailed breakdown of how losing the car directly impacted my income for that month and the next. I even had a printout of the transcript from the dashcam and a notarized statement about how I obtained it legally and preserved the file integrity. I didn't go in there hoping to win some huge amount. I went in because it was time someone told Tyler he didn't get to laugh and walk away anymore. The court awarded me almost $9,000. It wasn't even about the number. It was about the fact that someone else, someone official, someone objective, looked at all of it and said, "Yes, you were wronged." He tried to act like it didn't matter, like it was no big deal, but I heard from one of his friends later that he had to get a second job just to cover the payments. Some food delivery gig. Nothing fancy, but enough to scrape together the money. That's how it works when reality finally taps you on the shoulder. Nobody gets to dodge it forever. Mom stopped speaking to me, of course. Told the rest of the family I was cruel, that I'd humiliated Tyler, that I should have handled it privately like a good sister. I didn't even bother defending myself. I just smiled, wished her well, and blocked her number for a while. I needed the space. I needed to hear my own thoughts without her voice whispering guilt into my ear. But here's the twist. I never cashed the check. It came in a plain white envelope with the court seal on the corner. I opened it slowly, held it in my hands for a long time. I ran my finger along the printed numbers, felt the weight of what it meant, what it could pay for. A few bills. Maybe some car repairs. Maybe a little vacation, finally. But in the end, I didn't take it to the bank. I had it framed, hung it on the wall above my desk, right next to the certificate for my LLC. Not because I needed the money, though I won't pretend it wouldn't have helped, but because I needed to see it every day. I needed the reminder that silence isn't the same as weakness, that being the responsible one doesn't mean being the doormat. That sometimes the best revenge isn't shouting or slamming doors, it's standing up with both feet planted and saying, I'm not doing this anymore. Tyler still avoids me at family events. He brings his own food now. Doesn't drink. Keeps quiet. Maybe he learned something. Maybe not. I don't really care either way. Because the check's still there. Uncashed. Waiting. Maybe one day I'll need it.